Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now celebrating 17 years of broadcasting success, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, both for our radio audience here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com. We welcome you all to the broadcast. Also, those joining us are online affiliates. Thanks to our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcasts. We're glad you all could be with us as well. Had a chance to watch a new film that's now available on VOD that I definitely recommend for you guys. It's called Paint, and we're excited to welcome the writer and director of the film to our program today. Michael Walker is here to talk to us not only about the film and what it's like for him now to be able to literally share it with the world, but also I think it's some really great messages in this film. It's fun, but also I think for artists out there, anyone in the creative community, I think you guys will find a lot of this you can really enjoy. If you guys are just now finding out about Paint, of course we'll let you know how you can watch it for yourself. But Michael, thank you so much for the time today. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
So, Michael, I know a lot of hard work has gone into this. How does it feel to now to be able to literally share it with the world?
It feels good. It did take a long time to get this done, so it's I'm actually kind of happy to have it out there at this point.
Yeah. So let's talk about the film Paint, because I think what's so cool about this is that, I mean, there are a lot of different things I think audiences will take away from it. There are parts of it that are really funny. I think for anyone in the creative community, whether we're talking about literal visual artists or even actors, I think, they can definitely relate to some of the themes of it. But what was it like for you to kind of to be able to craft this story that shows not only the life of the creative community, but also just life in general?
Well, I think that was the whole point, was to try to not just make it about artists. I mean, I think anyone, like you said, with a creative field would appreciate the movie. But I think anyone who comes out of college and has some ambition and doesn't really know what to do with it, when you're 24 years old and you really want to do something that's going to change the world or do something important, and you have all these ideas, but you really don't know where to place them or how to do it, or you don't know anybody, you don't have connections. And that was sort of the feeling that I was hoping for. And meanwhile, like if there's somebody who has success that and there's jealousy and all sorts of feelings like that. You're like, I can pull, if it was a movie about music, it would be, the band that is hitting the top 10, and you're the guy who's like, I play better than them. Why aren't I in the top 10? So there's that sort of feeling, though. It was probably the most, what drew me into it anyway.
Yeah. Well, one of the characters we're able to meet, Michael, in the film is Dan, and Dan has had a very interesting journey that audiences will see when they watch it. But there are three words that Dan sees, and it really stands with him, and it comes up later for him. And those three words are dare to dream. So I want to talk to you about your own journey, Michael. When did you first realize that creating was something you wanted to do?
I guess I always wanted to work in films or TV or whatever, ever since I was a kid. So it was just something that I always wanted to do, and I was encouraged to do it. And I went to film school eventually, and I wrote stories, even through high school. And so I guess it was just something that I was always going to do. I mean, I don't think people. Well, I don't know what I was going to say, but that's. I mean, it's hard for me to say. I've always wanted to do it, so I don't know if it's a calling necessarily, but it's just something that, it's hard to think about doing anything else at this point.
Right, and I was just going to say, Michael, one of the things we see among the friends in the film is that there is a confidence for some. Some will look at this and when they're watching it and say, well, Dan has a great bit of confidence. There are other, characters that we see that may have the question mark, hey, am I even good? Is this something that's going to work? Have you always believed in yourself, though, and believed in your gift?
You always have insecurity, I think, whenever you put yourself out there. It's hard. I mean, it's great when you see a film, which I didn't get the chance for this one, but when you see it in the audience and you see a reaction to it, then then you can feel pretty good. Or if you get a good review one day, you feel pretty good about it, and you get a bad review the next day, and you're like, this is awful. So there's always insecurity, and I guess you get used to a certain amount, as you get older. I mean, I'm older than the character, so I have a little bit more experience in getting. But you're always putting yourself out there, and it is a strange thing. It's a tough thing to do, but it's it's something that I have plenty of insecurities in my own life, and not necessarily even to do with that, but just as a person, and I think everybody does. And those, these different characters have, like you say, they have different levels of confidence or beliefs in their ideas, and they have different ideas. I think, like Austin, who is the successful one of them, is more money oriented than the other ones. So
right.
There's things like that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because going back to Dan, one of the things that we see that actually it's said to him by another character, which he counters, is that, success is not by the sales, right? I mean, it's not about that. It really is about the love of it. And I think, for a lot of people in the creative community, which is when I was watching this film, I went into it not really knowing what to expect, Michael, but I think one of the big things I kept thinking about was the connection between creativity and also connection, because we see these characters able to have that. But I think, too, we're able to see them kind of finding their own way and finding their own voices. Now, you just referenced something that I guess we have to talk about. And, of course, with this film, you're not getting the theatrical release maybe that you would want, because we're living in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. But to kind of take us back a little bit, I mean, when was this film finished?
I finished this in, I guess, March or April, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Completely finished. It was, we finished editing, I think, in December or even November, and then there was just a lot of sound work and things to do. And because of the pandemic and just because of the nature of submitting to festivals and waiting for them to get back to you, there was no real rush to do everything that needed to be done. So, I don't know. I mean, it's silly stuff to talk about, but it's, when you're working on a low budget, you're sort of working around other people's schedules whenever you can, and that's how you get breaks for,
Right.
That's how you get deals doing things. But it was, but I started working on it about 4 or 5 years ago. So it takes a long time to get some of these things made, although this is long, generally.
Yeah. Well, I think, one of the things that really, I think, helps to drive this story is the cast. Talk to us about that. I mean, it's one thing for you to write this, and then another thing to actually see it being brought to life. What was it like for you to see these characters really involve themselves in what you've written?
Well, that's always, that's always my favorite part, really, is, because you spend a lot of time writing, generally, 6 months to 8 months, and then, while you're trying to get financing, it takes a lot longer, and you're always working on the script, and then finally things start to happen when actors come in and start reading your lines, and it's always great, and actually in the audition process, you sort of hear these lines and you see what works and what doesn't work, and also, like, how you're going to be directing it when you start directing it. So it's always great to get the actors coming in for that first time.
Well, I'll tell you, the actors
so
really help.
It,
Right. No, I actually was just going to say that, Michael. I think that's the thing. It really, especially for this particular film, the actors really seem to bring it to these roles, and it really helps to keep the story pushing along. I want to say, for those who are just tuning in, though, either on the radio side or online, you're listening to Conversations Live. We're excited to welcome to our program today Michael Walker. He's the writer and director of a new film called Paint. It's out now through our friends at Amazon. You guys can watch it on Amazon Video, but also through all the other video-on-demand sites as well. And I think the other side of this, too, Michael, as we're talking about this film, relationships, and we can talk around this so we don't spoil it for anything. There are a lot of different types of relationships that we see in this film, for sure. Of course, the friendship of the main characters we're able to see, but also the complications of the relationships they're in, some good, some not so good. What was that like for you to kind of tackle in a film like this?
Well, I think that's like it's something that I look back on, from when I was younger. Like, your friends aren't always reliable, and and that's not necessarily why you have them. You have friends for different reasons and for different things. You like different people for different things, and I don't mean it in a sort of scheming kind of way. I just mean, people are different, and it's fun when you're younger. Even though while you're experiencing it, I don't know how much fun it is. But when you look back on it, and you make a lot of mistakes when you're younger, but while you're making them afterwards, you sort of have an adventure that you can talk about. I was thinking about that a lot when I was writing it.
Yeah. I think the other thing, too, that I definitely want to make sure that we mention here, Michael, is that there are boundaries. We see them with Dan and what he will and will not do. We see it with other characters and what they're not willing to do just because of what they think it might get for them. I think, for a film like this, it has so many different layers to it, whether we're talking about the parts that are funny, can be comedic, and, of course, the parts that are more serious. What was that like for you to kind of show for the community? I mean, I think especially, of course, we're talking about literal visual artists in the film, but I think anyone in the creative community or in business, I think, will look at that and say, wow, it's great that you're able to see that even though these people want to see the success, they want to see these things, they do have boundaries for themselves.
Yeah, well, I think it's sort of what you were saying, too, about but the commerce part of the art thing, too. There's different ways that you can sell out for yourself. And I think like Quinn is a character who's got very strong ideas and, very pure ideas that he learned in college or that he's, has for romantic ideas about being an artist that he's never going to change. And it's also sort of a crutch for him. And he's probably uses that as an excuse to not get his life together. So, there's things like that. Or Dan does have his boundaries. Dan wants nothing more to be darker. But, when it comes right down to it, he's not really going to be that person that he's dreaming of. So, which is, it's feelings I think a lot of people have.
Yeah, for sure. I think that is a cool thing. I think for a lot of us these days, especially this year, Michael, social media has been a big part of the way we're staying connected, also finding out about things. What role did you see social media playing this year for you as you were getting ready for the rollout of Paint?
Well, I wish I could say I was better at social media. I'm just, I'm not. I'm really just not, and I'm doing my best now. I go out there, but it just never. It's selling myself. If you see the movie, you'll see where I stand on this stuff. It's not in my character really to go out online and just sell myself like that. So, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way. It's just hard for me to do it.
Yeah, I get it. No, I totally get it. But I tell you, this is definitely a film I think that people will enjoy. I know I enjoyed watching it. I'll be writing my review on Amazon of it. Definitely encourage anyone who has not seen it yet, definitely head over to your favorite VOD and to be able to get it for yourself. Again, the film is called Paint. We've been speaking with writer and director Michael Walker on our program today. Michael, how can our audience kind of stay connected with you as well as the updates for Paint?
Well, my website, pangofilms.com, is always easy, PANGO films.com. Or, I'm online. It's just that I'm just not tweeting or Instagramming all the time. I'm pretty easy to find online.
Okay. Well, we'll make sure that we link the website up for you. Michael, congratulations to you again. Really enjoyed the conversation with you and looking forward to speaking with you again.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Hey, you're more than welcome, and we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live today, and let's go make today amazing. Take care.